episode on the Paradigm Shift Show. I am your host, Nata, an entrepreneur, a strategist, and someone who is always looking for new ways to challenge the way we think and work. This show, the Paradigm Shift Show, is all about breaking old patterns, questioning status quo, and delivering new ways, discovering also new ways to grow with life and business. Now, today we have a very, very special guest who is streaming live, and he goes by the name Major General J.A. Ataguba, retired. It's such an honor to have you on this show with us, sir.
Thank you so very much. It's my pleasure as well.
Yeah, and he is a seasoned military leader with decades of experience in social security and defense strategy, with deep insights into crime prevention and security operations. He's here to discuss a growing crisis that demands urgent attention in our society. And do not forget, we also have our co host here with us by the name Mr. Mouse. Mr. Mouse, how are you doing today?
I'm fine, Nata. Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Paradigm Shift, where we dive into conversation that challenges the status quo. Once again, I'm your co-host, Miles, on this episode.
You heard that right. And today, the topic we will be discussing is the rising threat of Southeast criminal gangs, kidnapping, and murder. So we have the privilege of someone who to be with someone who has been at the forefront of curbing all this crisis to discuss this very sensitive topic. So I'll be throwing the floor to Mr. Mouse to start with his first question. Mr. Mouse, please shoot your question to the general.
So, as we all know, there has been high rise of insecurities in the southeastern part of Nigeria, and today we're glad to have with us on studio one of the great personalities that have been helping in so many ways to keep us safe and curb the crisis
Yeah.
we have in the southeastern part of this country. So, sir, thank you once again. My first question is we all know there are a lot of factors that contribute in this crisis.
Right.
So, sir, as someone who is in the military, who was once in the military field, and you know, I would like to know what are the major factors that contribute in this crisis.
Thank you so very much. Let me say a very good evening to our esteemed viewers and, of course, to the host and co host. I hope you can hear me very well.
Yes, sir.
Loud and clear, sir.
Great. It depends on who you are speaking to. Whoever you're talking to will give you his own perspective as to the major causes or the drivers of violence in the Southeast. I will first and foremost want to state that violence is not just restricted to the Southeast. There's virtually no part of Nigeria that you say is at peace currently. So, the Southeast that is currently boiling suffers the same problem other parts of the country suffer. And what are these problems? For me, as an individual, before going into unravel some of those things, I want to say first and foremost, the most important for me is impunity. Impunity. There is insanity, what I call insanity in the land, where people don't care. People do things and they go scot free. So that deterrence factor is completely not there. I'm sure you are aware the level of looting in virtually all sectors of the economy. And once that is happening, what happens? Unemployment. So you see, you two ordinarily are supposed to be engaged. Some have passed out from the university 6 years, 10 years. Rather than giving respite to their family who have suffered to train them, they are still a burden to their family. You have seen droves of Nigerian youths and even those elderly ones leaving the country. So these are the issues. Excessive pilfering of our common patrimony, and then showing it off. And these guys are not being called to order. So frustration sets in when you begin to look at or think about the aggression theory. When somebody is frustrated, frustration leads to aggression. Aggression leads to violence. So these are things we can't run away from. And so if you want to nip it in the bud, we need to go to the drawing board. We need to, pull back and begin to reinvent the wheel. Because as far as I'm concerned, there's a huge problem in the land. So to stop the bloodletting, we need, like I said, go back to the drawing board. Thank you.
So, thank you so much for that, sir. So, do you think that there is a larger organized network that facilitates criminal structures across the states and borders? And how effective are the current security measures, that are being set in place to address such threat?
We put it this way, that the various security agencies, the armed forces of Nigeria, the police, and other security agencies are doing their best. But I tell you that kinetic operations alone cannot solve the problem. Yes, it will go a long way because when you subdue those behind the violence, then you can go to the negotiating table, to get some form of arrangement, some form of agreement that will ensure peace. But when you get that agreement and you have not yet taken advantage or you have not resolved that lingering crisis that led to the upsurge in violence in the first place, it becomes a huge problem. Like I used to tell friends, the Boko Haram in the Northeast, if you defeat it today, another version of Boko Haram will still come. Unless you are able to dig deep and unravel the root causes and address those root causes. And what are those root causes? It's almost the same all over. Impunity. For instance, I live in Abuja. You won't believe that everywhere you see people breaking the law, running red lights, people driving vehicles without plate numbers. Everybody owns a police these days. And the hapless Nigerians are being driven off road because of siren wielding so-called important Nigerians. So these are issues. In the 70s, in the 80s, we never knew of this. So how come suddenly from nowhere we have found ourselves in this mess? So we need to take a step backwards and begin to rethink what we have done wrong, where we have gone wrong, and try to retrace our steps. Thank you.
So, taking a step backwards, does it also involve looking at the youth's lack of opportunities and lack of education and poor no employment and all? Do you think that taking a step backwards that you're speaking about has to do with also the government making available basic amenities for these youths who involve in such crimes to curb this crisis?
Now, let me tell you, the average Nigerian is disciplined. It is the environment. If A has stolen 1 billion and he uses 10% to settle his way or buy his way through, what do you think will make B not to go and steal 2? In fact, we have a case of somebody who was standing trial for stealing billions from his state. What happened? We saw him being given a rousing welcome back home. I remember in those beautiful old days, that man would be stoned But because Nigerians have been brought to their knees, they have lost their sense of responsibility. And so these things, taking a pace backward means, one, being patriotic. I don't see a patriotic person taking away what is meant for all, for himself alone, and not just for himself alone, taking it out of the country where he can never get it back again. So you need to take a pace backward. You need to rejig the structure. The structure is broken. Check all sectors of the Nigerian society. Which is functioning well? Is it the ministries, the parastatals, agencies? Check and see. Why is it that a Nigerian lives here, goes to US, goes to UK, and he becomes a very, very disciplined citizen of those places? The rules. Because when you are caught, you will pay dearly for it. But here, you can circumvent the rule. And so we must begin to first make people face the wrath of the law. We must begin to make sure everyone is equal before the law, not law for the rich, another set of law for the poor. You have seen what is happening at the polls. He who has more access to violence is most likely to win, or he who has a deeper pocket. This is not Nigeria. So until we begin to rethink and begin to punish those who err, leaders must take courage. They must have courage to deal with these infractions. Otherwise, we are on a precipice. We are on the brink. And unless we are able to pull ourselves back, the worst is yet to come. I'm not a prophet of doom, but I tell you, we need to honestly, sincerely begin to lead and lead very well. Thank you.
Youth, we as youth would like to know how can we um, help in shuffling or curbing um, this crisis? On what ways can we as youth help in curbing this crisis? Because from all this, we realize that policing and watching over our environment is not a job for just the security agencies. You
Yes.
understand? So, in what way can we as youths, contribute in this aspect?
Okay, thank you so very much. Unfortunately, I would say the youth we have today, most of what they've known or they've learned are the wrong things. My advice is first and foremost, put on your thinking cap, acquire a skill. The fact that you are finished from the university does not mean you must work in, you must have a white collar job. No, that education is to broaden your knowledge. Imagine, for instance, a secondarian, someone who has just finished secondary school, who is a fashion designer, and a graduate who is a fashion designer. Who do you think would make more expression? Of course, the man who is a graduate. So what we're saying is, let us leave this laziness way of life, quick money and all that, and come back, pull back. Whatever you do in Nigeria, you do it conscientiously and do it sincerely. Trust me, the sky is the limit. So the youths, we keep saying, are the future of tomorrow. But are they really ready to take up the leadership of this country? It's a huge challenge they need to confront. And once they do it, because we have seen few youths who have been given the opportunity and they are falling by the wayside like their ancestors. So we need to first develop our value system. I'll tell you, as an individual, sometimes I ask myself, on Fridays, you see people in droves going to the mosque. On Sunday, you see people in droves going to the church. Who are those looting our money? It shows that the religion It no longer have any impact. Our conscience are completely dead. So it still boils down to taking a step backward. Begin to think of tomorrow. For me, the more you make your neighbor happy, the more your own happiness is secured. So we need to preach this gospel to the youths to begin to become selfless rather than acquiring even what they don't need, just like those who are in position of authority are doing currently. We need to drift away from that aspect of life. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, when we talk about security issues, most times we settle mostly on what the security agencies can do to protect us and what we can do to protect ourselves. But now, my question is, what can an individual do to avoid being a victim of this crisis?
Beautiful. The best way for you to secure yourself is secure your neighbor. I have had the privilege of living outside before. Your neighbor may not even talk to you. You greet him in the morning, good morning, he walks past you. But the minute somebody is fiddling with your door when you are not there, he will be the first person to call 911. There, they care a lot about themselves. But here, we are individualistic. As long as that flame is not affecting my house, I'm not bothered. So we need to pull away from that selfish way of thinking. And again, if I may even tell you certain things that are wrong with our attempts at securing individuals, the government has not adopted an approach that yields good dividends. I ask you a question. Which of the states has a short code that the citizens can call when they are in distress and there will be response? Which state? If they have a short code, you call that number, most times nobody picks. So we need an architecture that is functional, not an architecture that is just put in place because you want to grandstand. No. If you have a short code, you must have a close user group, CUG, that will be linked to the responders. And who are the responders? It could be police, it could be the armed forces, it could be the civil defense, a network of responders. So as one person is receiving the distress call, he is moving, the next person is moving. It's a seamless, seamless sharing of information. So that way, even you yourself, the phones we have is a weapon. We need to leverage technology. The phone is not just for WhatsApping, Facebook, and the rest. No, there are security features you can put in place that if anything happens to you, people will be able to track you. But most of us don't know. It's when we are in deep shit, pardon my language, that we begin to regret. I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. As we are, how many of our other households can tell your location at any point in time? You can link up your locations. So if you are somewhere and something happens suddenly, somebody will be able to track you, or at least be able to say this was the last location. So we must on our own protect ourselves before the government will do same. So we must help the government to help us.
It's unfortunate that this last point you just made about letting people know your whereabouts. It's so unfortunate that because of how fallen the world we live in is, most people can't even trust this next person they are trying to inform of their whereabouts. So how do you even share an information with people around you who you can't trust?
No, no,
It's
no, no, no.
pathetic.
I don't mean just friends or anyone. Your immediate family members. At least your sister will not disclose your location to kidnappers. Your brother will definitely not do that. Neither will your parents do so. So we're talking about, your close relative people who care deeply about you. But again, because most times we don't even want them to know where we go to, so we're not ready to share our locations with them. But I tell you, what we're going through in Nigeria can be arrested in less than 3 months. Sincerity of purpose, thinking through some of this architecture were put in place. Some of them are just mere grandstanding, like I said before. If you want to make them effective, they can be effective. For instance, if I ask you, these kidnappers, are they ghosts? Start executing kidnappers today and tell me if by the next 1 week we'll have any kidnapper hiding in the forest. But they know that they will collect the ransom. When they are caught, nothing will happen. It will take another 10 years before they are jailed. You know, the one of the most notorious kidnappers that was arrested some years ago, up till now, he's still moving from one court to another. He even had the effrontery. He had the effrontery to sue the government for his fundamental human rights. What of those he has killed? Their right to life he has violated. So, you see, governance is not a child's play. The countries we are running to, they are firm in terms of dispensation of justice. Like they say, justice delayed is justice denied. So we need to come to terms with governance. And what is the social contract between the individual and the government? You submit your rights to the government, while the government owes you a right to protect you at all times. So each and every entity must come to terms with his own roles and responsibilities. Thank you.
Of late, a lot of events have been popping up on the media. A lot of things have been happening with the crisis, and especially last year, there were a lot of cases of kidnapping and all that around Abuja and all that. So, and there was even a video on TikTok that some kidnapper came out and was posting a content and flaunting the money that he got from this proceed. So, my question here now is that the government tells us they are doing a lot and putting in a lot in place to curb this situation. So I want to ask: do you think the government is doing enough or putting in a lot of stuffs in place to curb and fight this crisis?
Uh, Let me throw the question back to you. Of what use is a law that is not effective? If the law is just there on paper and the terms of that law are not applied rigidly, like I asked, if a kidnapper has taken life, why should he have right to life? If you begin to execute kidnappers today, in the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, do you think people who are already in kidnapping, you think they will continue? I'm sorry, it may look crude. When I say execute, it may look crude, but you have denied somebody his right to life. So if you have killed, even our religious books, they lend credence to that. It may not necessarily be, let's say, killing, but at least give very harsh punishment that the next person will think twice. Now I tell you, what is the essence of punishment? One of the main purpose of punishment is not just to punish the offender, it's to serve as deterrence to other will-be offenders. It is that deterrence factor that is most critical. And if it takes you 10, 20 years to convict somebody, I tell you that deterrence factor is no longer there.
Thank you so much. So, basically, jungle justice, so far seems like it has been stopped. But in the case of jungle justice now, is there when a crime happens and you know people around mob this person and kills this person, is there a law? Yeah, is there a law that persecutes the people who were involved in this jungle justice?
First and foremost, I want us to look at it from different perspectives. First, jungle justice is wrong because you may be venting your spleen on the wrong person. Then, two, why do a group of people resort to jungle justice? Sometimes it's out of frustration. When you know that this person would, even when handed over, will not be processed very well. After 2 weeks, he's back on the street. And some people go to the extent of boasting that after all, when I'm caught, I know what to do and I'll be back to the street. So what happened? If he's been caught for the second or third time, the tendency is there for somebody to say, look, if the government cannot deal with this guy, I will deal with it. But trust me, it's not the right thing to do. And that's why I keep emphasizing on the need for the government to deal decisively with these issues. Because if a citizen knows that, look, this culprit or this offender is going to be dealt with, in fact, he will happily hand him over. But if the reverse is the case, the tendency is there for him to begin to think of alternative ways of dealing with the situation, which is what we're referring to as jungle justice. Thank you.
Running out of time, and of course, we would not want to keep you up longer, but this has been such a very insightful discussion, and we want to thank you, sir, for enlightening us and for teaching us that there's more we can do than to fold our arms and wait for the government agencies to do their bit. Because as humans, we also have a role to play in security, and yeah, we do really appreciate your insights, sir. Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Insightful.
And thank you so much as well for your service.
Thank you, sir.
The honor is mine as well.
We hope to have you on our shows next time.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate greatly. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you for watching Paradigm Shifts. If you enjoyed this episode, you're free to like and follow and share for more interesting and captivating conversations. Thank you.
Do you have a nice day? Thank you so much, sir.